Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Prosper series. My name is Adriana, and I support community at Celo. So I love that we got some folks here on the call today, and I would love to hear where people are coming in from. I see one person is calling in from San Francisco. So if you want to just type in the chat where you are hailing in from. I'm here in El Cerrito, California, which is near San Francisco. So more SF folks, awesome. Welcome. Will's calling in from Virginia. Awesome. So yeah, you're welcome to continue using the chat during this series for any questions that you have or comments. We want to keep this live and engaged. And so the purpose and mission of the Prosper series is to envision, ideate, and create a new world of prosperity for all. And we'll be talking about that today with Will Lee around microwork and creating prosperity through new digital channels. And so just some background for those of you that are new to the Prosper series. This actually began as an in-person retreat over a weekend to bring people together, developers, designers, dreamers, and doers together to envision what a new beautiful world would look like of beautiful money. And so this is us here in Mendocino, California. And of course, with the current climate of COVID, we decided to bring this series online through a bite-sized chunks weekly instead of just one long weekend of information. And so really excited that you're here to join us on this journey and weaving a new story of the future together. And so before we begin, to bring us into that presence of prosperity so that we can really receive as much as we can from this session, I invite you to join me in a short meditation. And so if you feel comfortable, gently closing your eyes and taking a few deep breaths here. Feeling the weight of your body sinking into your seat. Feeling the sit bones where they touch the seat below you, and taking a few deep belly breaths all the way down to the sit bones. And just noticing how as the breath slows and deepens and you bring your awareness inwards, that the body becomes more relaxed, that there's more spaciousness for the moment. And in this spaciousness, we grow our ability to envision, to ideate, and ultimately to create. And so bringing your awareness into your heart and taking a few breaths there. And in the words of Charles Eisenstein, how beautiful can life be? We hardly dare imagine it. And so I invite us all now to imagine for ourselves what a beautiful life would look like. The most beautiful. How beautiful can it be? Of course, we have so much to already be grateful for now, but in addition to that, what are the things that could make it even more prosperous? And just noticing the images, the feelings, the sensations that arise in your body as you begin to think about this. And just noticing how you're feeling, and perhaps even your part in that creation. And then after your next breath, gently opening up the eyes and coming back into the room. And so I'm super excited today as a step towards creating that new world we will be inviting Will Lee shortly to the screen here, the stage, to talk about creating prosperity through new digital livelihoods. So one of the premises of prosperity, Celo believes, is that everyone gets their basic needs met. And so this is a project that we'll be hearing about to support people making money off of their mobile phone. And so Will Lee is a partner at C Labs. I'm so excited to have him as one of my coworkers. And he works in the ecosystem building, go-to-market, and user research. So he's deeply passionate about fintech and financial inclusion and innovation in emerging markets. And he actually helped launch one of the largest UBI, or Universal Basic Income, studies currently underway. So I'm super excited to welcome him onto the stage. And I'm going to just take a moment here to do that.
Good morning. Can you all hear me?
Yeah, you're sounding good, Will.
Awesome. Thank you for the intro, Adriana. And thank you everyone for joining. I'm really excited to talk about this project today. And so give me a second to share my screen. Cool. Are the slides coming through?
Yes, they are perfect.
Yeah, awesome. So before we kind of dive in, for those of you who are new to the Celo community, I thought it'd be helpful to give a bit of context. And so Adriana and I work on a project called Celo, which is an open platform that makes financial tools accessible to anybody with a mobile phone. And it's really underpinned by this thesis that, there are a lot of benefits to cryptocurrency and blockchain, but one of the reasons why we haven't seen more widespread adoption is there are a lot of challenges around usability, right? And so, I don't know, if my mom wanted to go out and buy Bitcoin right now and use it, it would be really tough for her. And until we solve some of those user problems, we're not going to see the widespread or mainstream adoption that we would hope. And so what Celo is, what we're doing working on Celo is trying to abstract away a lot of that complexity by introducing features such as a stablecoin, which means the value of Celo doesn't fluctuate a lot, like Bitcoin or Ethereum. We have a phone number mapping tool that lets you send value to anyone in the world just knowing their phone number. Things like an ultralight sync that makes it very data light and easy for folks, especially in constrained markets. So all these together creates a lot of the benefits that you would see without some of all the benefits of blockchain without some of the challenges. And so what's beautiful about this is it's an open protocol. And so we already have teams building a lot of different applications and use cases using the Celo technology. And I'm going to talk about one of those projects today, this project, microwork. And before we get there, this project actually started before the COVID crisis happened, but it's become especially relevant today. And I know we don't need any reminders of how difficult it's been, but the point I'm trying to make here with this slide is, while it's not been easy for anybody, the current climate has hurt emerging market countries and people who live on the margins a lot harder. There are 1.6 billion informal economy workers out there that have their incomes slashed because of this. About 2/3 of the workforce around the world live in places with shelter-in-place requirements. And so for a lot of these people who are already living on the margin, losing access to the livelihoods could be very, very significant. Which means that this design prompt that we started with for this project, how might we enable anyone in the world to earn money safely from their homes just using their mobile phone, has become especially relevant. What's interesting about this is we've totally recognized that this statement can come off as it's similar to one of those Facebook ads that you might see where it's like work from home anywhere and earn some money. We actually got some feedback that when we first launched our project in Kenya, that some folks thought it was a bit scammy. But this is actually true. There are a lot of companies out there that are willing to pay workers for real work on their phone. So it's really underpinned by this burgeoning artificial intelligence industry. So AI companies who are trying to create these algorithms to do things will need a lot of human input in order to do that. So one big example is driverless cars. So, in order to create a program that will drive your car, you need humans to teach the program what to do. And so, you need a person to tell the algorithm across millions of different instances what the program should be doing. And so, if you've ever done one of those CAPTCHAs online where you're identifying all the crosswalks in a photo, or looking at all the stop signs, what you're actually doing is microwork, and you are helping some company out there create a driverless car algorithm. And one of the challenges with this industry, though, is that it's not as broadly accessible as we would like, right? So most microwork is done on a computer, so a desktop or a laptop, and payment rails are very difficult. And so the irony of the microwork industry is that some of the people who would benefit the most from having this opportunity, earning a couple of dollars an hour, doing these tasks, just don't have access to it. And so hence why we're excited to be working with our partner Appen on this project to create an application that lets you earn Celo cryptocurrency anywhere in the world using just a mobile phone. So here's our pilot design. We actually snuck it in right before lockdown happened, but we created a microwork app, pretty basic MVP version, and enrolled 32 participants in Kenya, mostly in and around universities. We had 2 agents that we hired to serve as cash out points, and the pilot lasted a week. These were real tasks that we put on the platform that had real dollar values attached to them. And so people, depending on how fast or diligent they worked, were earning between 20 cents and $3 an hour, which doesn't sound like a lot for someone in the US, but for a lot of people here, it was meaningful. I think the minimum wage in Kenya is around 60 cents an hour. So the flow for the user is pretty simple. You download the app, you get onboarded, and then as soon as you're ready, you start doing work on your own time, and you can earn Celo dollars directly and instantly when you're done. And then you can convert your Celo dollars to shillings from one of our designated agents. So I wanted to dive deeper on one of our pilot participants. This is Lillian. And this is a quote that she said that I really liked, which is, I can say that it's not very easy to find a job just because there are so many graduates, and the jobs there are very few. And so youth unemployment in Kenya hovers around 30 or 40%. And I imagine that stat has gotten much worse with the current climate. And so for Lillian and many of our classmates, the finding a job is like their #1 priority or #1 concern. And so having this opportunity to earn money on your phone could be a lifeline for a lot of people in Kenya and around the world. For the participants, we had a pretty even split among men and women. Our population was actually a bit educated, very educated. So over 2/3 of them had some sort of university education. And they come from households earning less than $300 a month. And just goes to show in the microwork industry in Kenya is actually pretty robust. About 2/3 of our participants had done some sort of microwork before, whether it was through platforms like Upwork or Fiverr. Yeah, and so I want to show you an actual screen grab of someone using the Celo app. So again, this is an MVP version of the app, but as you can see, you can go into the platform, click around, and basically select the task. This person has selected a task about receipt transcription. So this is from a company. So what you would do here is there's a photo of a receipt, and then you'd have to transcribe the most important elements of that receipt, like the date or the amounts, into text fields. And so what this does is help companies like Expensify, for example, get better at their receipt transcription algorithms. There are lots of different tasks on the platform. I think we had 7 or 8 total. So one was receipt transcription. We had a task that helped, that asked people to select all the photos that had logos in it. We had another task that asked people to categorize clothing. So like, is this a top or a bottom? Is this like a jacket or a shirt? Are these loafers or Oxfords? That sort of thing, which would help like better algorithms on like clothing and shopping websites. And the thing that's common across all these tasks is that they're pretty light touch, right, and pretty easy to do. You don't need a lot of training. You don't even need to speak English. And so they're ideal for someone who might be stuck at home and not have a lot of skills or education. It's a nice way for people to earn money in a very simple and kind of fast way. I'm going to skip to the punchline a bit and tell you the results of the pilot, which were very successful. We had almost everyone complete the pilot. And in the course of a week, our participants earned almost $900 cumulative with an average of $1 an hour. So we had a strong net promoter score. And just to kind of dig a bit deeper, we actually asked people to work a minimum of 10 hours over the course of the week. And we were nervous about that requirement because a lot of our participants were college students and they might have been very busy. But almost everyone exceeded that amount significantly. The average hours worked were 24.3 hours. And then we actually had one person work 51 hours over the course of a week. Like we definitely don't condone this, but people were like skipping class and staying up late just to try to get all the tasks done before the pilot ended. Yeah, we also asked a lot of surveys. And so in our surveys, people were super excited about the app. Some people said they would work more than 5 hours a day if they could earn about 100 shillings an hour, which is about $1 using the app. And so this also goes to show there's strong demand for a solution like this. Like things like this just don't really exist right now. Here are some quotes we got from our pilot participants. One of my favorite ones is on the bottom right, where someone said, "I love the app, so after Friday we can't use it. So if you don't come back in 1 or 2 months, I will remind you to come back." I find this actually really funny because earlier this week, someone texted me on WhatsApp saying like, "Hey, you said you would be back. It's been 2 months, and we haven't seen anything yet." And so they were true to their word. They're trying to get us to come back and launch this app in Kenya. Another thing we wanted to look at in the pilot was quality. Right, and quality is important because if the quality of work that's being generated by this group of people is not good, no company is going to pay for it. And so we actually removed a lot of the normal quality controls for this pilot. It just wasn't a focus. But despite not having some basic things like feedback if you are doing tasks wrong so that you can learn, or any sort of punishment for kind of giving incorrect answers, we didn't have any of that in this pilot. Even though that wasn't there, the quality of work that people were submitting far exceeded our expectations. So overall accuracy was 65%, and 50% of participants hit the 70% accuracy, and 15% hit 85% accuracy. So 70 and 85% accuracy are important because those are the two levels of accuracy, 70% being the first level that is kind of like good, and 85 being what we consider pretty ideal worker. You might be asking, what, 70%, 85%, these seem pretty low. And the reason why those are good is because on an individual basis, yeah, having 75% of answers correct is not great. Well, what most microwork platforms do is aggregate the answers. And so if you have 3 people answering the same question, and you take the answer that is the most that is the consensus answer, you could have 3 people individually who have 70% accuracy, and taken together that could ladder up to more than 95% accuracy. And so also say that the quality of work coming from this group of people was very, very good, and honestly could be a lot better if we were to put in quality control metrics. And so we're very pleased by these results, and this hypothesis was validated. I alluded to this earlier, but another big challenge and another big reason why a lot of this opportunity that exists with this growing AI industry isn't flowing to places like Kenya or other emerging market countries is because the frictions revolved around financial payments. And so here's kind of a benchmarking analysis of how much it would cost to send about $5, which is about 5 hours of work in our pilot, from the US to Kenya. And as you can see, if you're using the most common payment systems like TransferWise or PayPal or Western Union, it could take up to 3 days, sometimes more. And sending $5 could cost you even more than the $5 you're trying to send, right? And so that's just cost prohibitive. It's just too expensive for this sort of industry. Because when you're talking about microwork, you're talking also about micropayments. So small sums of money that might not be a lot for like a bank or a financial institution to care about, but very significant for this group of workers. One funny anecdote here, we hired a photographer who took a lot of these amazing photos in Kenya for this project. And this was 2 months ago, and we paid him in PayPal, and he still hasn't been able to withdraw money from his PayPal account. And so the problem is real. There's a lot of like frictions in this system that prevent solutions like this from bubbling up. And so this is why we're particularly excited about Celo, because the opportunity to send value fast and quickly and cheaply to anyone's mobile phone in the world can be a huge lifeline. Another thing I would mention that I talked about earlier is scams. Scams are very, very common in Kenya and around the world. Almost everyone that we talked to came into this pilot with a very wary eye. They're like, this seems really fake, but we were interested, so we came in anyway. And so it's very important to get people paid quickly in order to establish trust. And we actually saw this really interesting finding that after our first cash out, we just noticed a spike in activity, right? And so after people were saying like, oh, you know, I did a little bit of work at first, and then once I could actually withdraw money from it, I knew that it was real, and that's when I started doing a lot more work. And so a good insight here is like, you know, pay people very quickly the first time, or else they might lose interest or get suspicious. And the last thing I would say is you might be asking, all right, so we pay people in Celo, you had agents for this pilot, but how would someone who earned Celo actually use it or convert it to local currency? And that's a great question. It's one of the big things that people asked. And so we actually have 2 teams right now in Kenya currently working on off-ramps or integrations from Celo to M-Pesa, which is this mobile money solution in Kenya being used by 90% of the population. And what's great about that is you can imagine in the future, if we were to launch this in Kenya, a flow being like, okay, I could download the app, earn Celo very quickly and cheaply, and then convert it to local currency using this Safaricom and M-Pesa integration. I think that's kind of the flow that we would imagine, and we love that there are community members around the world who are just doing this organically because they see the value in a solution like Celo. Yeah, so that's all I had for today, but I would close by saying we're really excited about this project. It's just the first phase, but we were very validated by the results, and we're hoping to explore other ways for us to kind of scale the project into new geographies. We want to build a better version of it that kind of improves on the user experience. And so if you're interested in this project or any other projects that we're working on at Celo, I would encourage you to stay connected. We have some links here for chat.celo.org, news.celo.org, events.celo.org. Yeah, and I just want to say thank you again for your time. I will stick around and happily answer any questions.
Awesome. Thanks, Will. I think we do have some questions in the queue, so you're welcome to share either in the chat or in the question box, and we will get to them.
Cool. Wait, how do I do this? Do I just click a...
See here. So yeah, there's a, I'm looking here at the questions. Actually, let's see your video. So the first out, what are the next steps? So how would one get involved in this project?
Yeah, with Celo specifically, or with this project overall? I guess I'll answer both questions. Right now, what we're doing is... Yeah, let's do both. There are lots of ways to get involved in the Celo community. And so we have, as I mentioned before, I would encourage you to check out our website. We have some job opportunities. We have a fellowship program if you have a project in country that you wanted to work on. We have, if you're a developer and want to build an application, we have a grants program as well. So you can get some funding for your projects. We have Celo Camp, which helps link you with mentorship within the C Labs team and the Celo community to help nurture your projects. And so there are lots of different ways. Our code is public on GitHub, and so if you just want to contribute to the code, we really encourage that. So yeah, we recognize that Celo would only be possible with help from the community, and so there are lots of ways for you to engage. With this project in particular, we're at this point of iterating and hoping to scale it soon, and so we're trying to find partners who maybe have access to communities that need help, or companies that have work that they want to source, and hopefully source in a very socially impactful way. And so if you have ideas for any of the two, or you just want to chat more about this project, feel free to reach out to me. My email is w@clabs.org, and happy to chat.
Awesome. And so Ed from Brazil asks, was it an internal project from C Lab? So were only the folks at C Labs working on this, or were there other folks involved?
Yeah, great question, Ed. So this was a collaboration. So we had a couple folks from C Labs who helped with this project, mostly because a lot of the project used the wallet interface. But we worked closely with this organization called Appen, which is a platform that links workers to companies that have work. And they were really interested in exploring this mobile piece, which they haven't invested in significantly, and also interested in exploring different payment options. Their only payment option, although one of the few payment options they offer right now, I think, is PayPal. And so to them, having more payment options and more device access could be really helpful.
Great. Let's see here. So how do you ensure that they feel trust for the workflow? And you kind of spoke to this a little bit, but can you go more into that? Like, how do you build that trust with the community?
Yeah. This is a really tough question. And it's probably one of the more important ones, because not only are scams common, but I think cryptocurrency in a lot of these places has a negative reputation. And so there's baggage that you're fighting against from the start. And so we've learned a lot from past research and even in this project about how to generate trust. There are things about, making sure that there's a face to your technology, that you are very reliable, because you're talking about people's money and livelihoods here. So one of the more important insights that we got is pay people quickly. So once people got paid the first time, that's when they realized that this was real and they were willing to put in more effort. Before that, they were only working 1 or 2 hours because they didn't want to sink a lot of time into something that could be scammy. I think the fact that we were there in person for this pilot helped significantly. There's I think just trying to be honest and provide customer support. So there were a lot of times people had issues, just from a user perspective. This is our first microwork app. And so being responsive on WhatsApp, I think, was really important to generate trust. But yeah, it is a really important question. Yeah.
Cool. That's great. Thank you. So another question. So how exactly does Celo work? So maybe you can give a little bit more of an overview of how Celo works.
Yeah. So Celo is a protocol. And so we, as a full stack solution, we have a protocol that is built on a blockchain, and that lets you send value to anyone in the world. And on top of that protocol, you also have layers of applications that you can build. And so one of which is a wallet layer that lets you kind of hold and send Celo dollars. And so the Celo protocol has these features like a stable coin. And so right now the stable coin is pegged to the US dollar, the Celo dollar. And it lets you do a lot of different things. So if I were an end user and I wanted to use Celo, what I could do is go to an exchange and buy Celo dollars, receive it into my Celo wallet, and then just text it to anyone around the world. And so from an end user perspective, it looks and feels very much like a centralized application, like a Venmo or Square Cash or PayPal. But on the back end, since it's powered by blockchain, you get these things like cross-border payments for fractions of a cent, instantaneous settlement, like a censorship resistance, a lot of transparency. And so that's why we're really excited about Celo. It kind of marries the two of the user experience that people are familiar with these centralized apps with the benefits of blockchain.
Mm, perfect. Thank you. And so how did you find your contacts in Kenya, or the partners that you work with for this user research and tests and so on?
Yeah. So I actually used to live in Kenya. I was living in Kenya for 2 years. That's where I launched the helped launch the Universal Basic Income Project. And so when we decided Kenya for a couple reasons. One was we had a lot of local contacts and connections there, but also Kenya was a very popular place for microwork in general, because English is widely spoken, because the population's pretty tech literate, because people are familiar with mobile money. And given this is like a proof of concept, we wanted to go somewhere where, at least for the first instance, things were fairly easy. And yeah, that's why we picked Kenya. I actually reached out to a lot of my contacts that I knew from my past life there, through my experience with Give Directly. And we're put in touch with some great field managers who did a lot of the recruiting for our pilot participants.
Awesome. And so we do have some folks. So we have Ed from Brazil who would love to collaborate with Love Crypto to replicate an experiment there. And then there's also some interest as well from Mario in Nigeria. So
wow.
So yeah, what would be the next steps there, or when does the app go live? How would that happen?
Yeah, well, I think the next step here, should send me an email. We can set up some time to talk. I think, yeah, would love to kind of explore different ways for us to scale this project. I think the intent behind this first phase was really to prove concept. Like, what do people want this? Will this work? What else do we need to do or learn to kind of scale this? And I think we did that for the first phase. And so now we're excited to look at the next phase and see, like, okay, how can we really bring this to people around the world and give them income opportunities that might not have existed before.
Cool. And also, when will the app go live? So is this something that we think is going to be available in other countries, or how much more work needs to happen to make that?
Yeah. Hopefully soon. Unfortunately, I can't give you a better answer. I think that there's still a lot of questions we need to figure out, but I would love for this to go out as soon as possible. And so with help of folks from the community, I think we can make that a reality.
I also just want to say, to join the community as well, we have a button to join the conversation on Discord, and that's where we are gathering kind of our world movement around Celo and tools available. So if you're not already a part of the Discord community, please go ahead and connect with us all there. And so we also have Mary, who says, I would love to learn more about your UBI project and research. Where can I read more about your work, Will?
Yeah. Again, I would just say this is not my work. I was part of a team that did a lot of the work. But I would check out Give Directly, and there is probably a page on the website. I don't have the URL handy, about universal basic income. And so the project there was Give Directly in 20,000 into universal basic income. And some of these families are getting about $22 a month for up to 12 years. And so that's great from a social impact perspective. But on top of that, the organizations have partnered with a lot of institutions to do research. And so just to understand more tangibly, what are the long-term effects or benefits or drawbacks of UBI? I know that UBI is very popular right now in the public discourse. There's a lot of debate around UBI. And so one of the goals of the project was to add more evidence and rigor to the conversation and say, okay, here are the stats from our research. In the field. So I would say, oh yeah, Laurence, thank you for sending the link, but the link is in the chat now, and that's where you can find out more. I would also say Give Directly, my former employer, is a member of our Alliance for Prosperity. And so just to plug, I think we made this announcement yesterday, but we have 75 organizations around the world that run the gamut from NGOs like Give Directly or Mercy Corps or Grameen to large institutions, Andreessen Horowitz, Coinbase, a bunch of others, technology companies, and we're all kind of connected in this mission to try to create prosperity around the world through the use of new technology. And yes, if you want to learn more about the Alliance for Prosperity, there's a link on our website too. And yeah, I would encourage you to check that out.
Great. And so if folks want to contact you, so for example, Rio would love to pioneer this in Nigeria. Can you just contact you at w@clabs? Excuse me.
That's w@clabs.co, actually.
Okay, .co. And do you have any comments around, how this would work in other countries in Africa, like in Nigeria? Have you done some research from the ecosystem side of where that could potentially work?
Yeah, not Nigeria specifically, but I would imagine that this desire to earn income or have another way to earn income is universally relevant for a lot of people, right? Like I would just take, for example, right now, like, there are billions of people around the world that are just homebound and don't have a way to earn income. And so even if this is not your primary source of income, having this as like a backup option or a way to supplement income if you encounter lean times, I think will be very important. So I think that part, I would guess, is very universal. But I do think that there are things that we need to figure out from a regional or localized perspective, right? Like how will on and off ramps work? What is the right messaging that we need to work with? What are the local conditions around internet access or education level or language that might change how this project would work country to country? And so that's the sort of stuff that I think would be really interesting to find out in future user research.
Awesome. So we have a final question from Laurence. So throughout all the pilots that cLabs has run, what are the top 3 learnings?
Ooh, Laurence, you're putting me on the spot, but I like this. I like this question a lot. Let's see. So I guess the first one is around this theme of trust. And this came out from our very first pilot. So the first pilot we actually did was in Kenya as well. And then we did a bunch of other pilots, I think closer to 11 now, 11 or 12 around the world. Then coming all the way back to Kenya. So it's like full circle. But throughout all these pilots, there is this theme about like trust. And how do you build it and how do you lose it, right? And so we found out that it's really hard to get trust, especially when you're talking about money and applications that deal with people's money, because people are generally very, very wary. There are a lot of scams. A lot of times, this group of people who might not be as advantaged or knowledgeable are the ones that are most prone to be taken advantage of. They already have these like barriers up. And so trying to figure out ways to create trust are very important. And so things like leveraging social networks, putting a face to your product, going to where community members are and getting evangelists. I'm also not losing trust. So there's like, once you lose trust, it's very hard to get it back. So if you like make a mistake or someone loses their balance, that rumor or that kind of like news spreads a lot faster than positive news. And so all these things are very important. What else did we learn? We learned there's an element about hustles too. We were just really impressed with the lengths that people would go to sometimes to learn new technologies or kind of like put up with some design issues if there was enough value for them in it, right? And so things like I'll be honest, the MVP version of this app wasn't the slickest. It was not the smoothest. We basically created this in 2 weeks just to test the concept. And so there were a lot of things that were kind of annoying, but like we would hope to fix for the future. But the fact that people were like, oh, wow, I can actually use this app to earn money, they put up with a lot of, the annoying bits because it was worthwhile to them. And the last one, I don't know. I mean, I think this probably doesn't come as a big surprise, but I would just iterate this a little bit, that there's sometimes an impression that people who come from like underprivileged communities or marginalized communities aren't very smart, and that's just not the case. I think that they just haven't had an equal access to opportunities, and so changing that perception and saying like, no, you actually know what you want. You actually are very hustly. You are very capable. If we just give you the tools to succeed, like for example, this, I think that's could be a huge opportunity. And so, yeah, I would just say that I think that there are lots of smart people all around the world. There's a quote that I like from this organization called Andela that is like, genius is evenly distributed, opportunity is not. And I think that's been validated through a lot of our research.
Awesome. Those are really great perspectives and learning. So thank you, Will. So with that, I want to thank you so much, Will, for spending the time here to share with us your findings. And I just love how quickly, you were sharing with me before this call how you and Anna at C Labs kind of had this idea and you just went with it, and now it's just a really great project that we can all learn from.
Yeah, super exciting. Thank you for letting me share, and thank you everyone for tuning in.
Absolutely. And so we're going to actually move over to a Zoom call for those that would like to meet Will and talk with him about this further, or just with other folks in the community. It's a really good opportunity. These sessions here are an opportunity for us while we are sheltering in place and we can feel really disconnected to actually come and connect around these things that we're passionate about, which is changing the world. We're in a really disruptive time right now, which is a fertile time for change. So let's bring all of our expertise and our passion together and see how we can support each other. So I welcome you to join us there. I just put the link in the chat. We'll be there shortly once we end this broadcast. And in the meantime, if you haven't joined the Discord channel yet to connect with us and other community folks moving forward, you're invited to do that. We also have a Prosper channel in Discord where we'll be sharing upcoming sessions. So next week, we will be talking about sustainability. And so that link will be up shortly in just a couple hours. So come back and join us there. And I look forward to continuing to connect with all of you. So may all beings prosper in their unique connection, and may all beings have their needs met. So we will see you shortly in the Zoom call. So thanks, everybody.
Thank you.